Like Fievel saying in An American Tale, but I'm going to read from a script because I don't want a copyright strike. Somewhere out there, beneath the pale moonlight, someone's thinking of me and wanting me to make a video follow-up to the one I did about the center of the United States. Welcome to part 2 of finding the center of the United States and its territories. When I made the original video, I figured it would remain buried in a pile of mediocrity, but then you all started sharing it with your friends while also complaining to me that I was not including the territories. So, you're welcome, I guess. As a quick recap of the first video, link in the description, the centers in Lebanon, Kansas and Belle Fourche, South Dakota were found by balancing a cardboard cutout to find the center of mass. Instead of that, I used math, based on latitudes and longitudes, to find 2 new centers in the ocean, near the states of Washington and Oregon, as well as 1 center in a forest in France. For this video, we'll run some new calculations to include the United States' many territories. Unlike Britain, which conquered half the world for spices and decided it didn't want to use any of them in their food,
beans are evil. Bad beans.
America's efforts to claim territories were primarily focused on military strategy, though now most are held for their potential mineral and energy resources.
Today I learned that morality is relative.
Money! Hey, those trillions of dollars in national debt aren't going to forgive themselves, right? For our first set of calculations, we're going to use the new extremes of north, south, east, and west and find the mean average of their coordinates. In the north, our one returning extreme is Point Barrow in Alaska. Fun fact, it's cold there. Our new southernmost point is so far south, it's in the southern hemisphere. Welcome to Rose Atoll, an uninhabited wildlife refuge in American Samoa. To the east, we have Point Udall, located in the U.S. Virgin Islands. A large sundial is present here because they like to brag that they're the first in the nation to see the sun rise each day. The location was named after Stuart Udall, a former Secretary of the Interior. This may seem like an unnecessary detail until I tell you about the westernmost point in Guam, which is also called Point Udall, as it's named after Stuart's brother Morris. So, the western and eastern extremes of the United States are named after the same family. Once we run our calculations, perhaps unsurprisingly, the coordinates land us in the Pacific Ocean. However, just under 300 miles to the southwest lies Cape Kumukahi, home to the easternmost point of Hawaii. This area is covered in lava rock, as it is the site of several lava flows, including the Kapoho lava flow of 1960, where a rift opened up right behind a small village. In spite of the volcanic danger, having a center of the United States in a tropical paradise sounds about right to me. So I had an AI program develop some sample markers for this site. Still, I know using these extreme coordinates skews the calculations to the west, and I know you're pining for me to make another bounding box, so here we go. As we create a bounding box, the goal is that all the land belonging to the United States is covered by the box, even if there's some land and water that is not part of the USA. Just like not everything in this box is a cat, but all of the cat is within the box. To make our bounding box, we take our far west point and combine it with our far north point, and so on and so forth until we have a rectangle. This moves our northwest point into Russia, our southwest point into Australia, our southeast point into Bolivia, and our northeast point into the Davis Strait. Welcome to the United States of America. Now that we have the bounding box created, we just need to calculate the center of that rectangle. It will probably not surprise you to learn that this center is once again in the Pacific Ocean. That's kinda what we do best here. However, we are further away from land this time, which leaves us with some decisions. We could go directly east, over 1,500 miles away, and we would land in the Baja California Peninsula of Mexico. Fun fact, Mexico falls entirely within this bounding box, so if it ever became a part of the United States, this center would not change locations. Or we could save ourselves a couple hundred miles and head a little more northeast and land in San Diego or Los Angeles. With the way California spends money, we could almost certainly persuade them to build a marker. Perhaps the best alternative is just to head to the closest piece of land, which is just over 1,100 miles to the southwest. This takes us back to Cape Kumukahi, with its beautiful black sand beaches. It almost seems like destiny that the center of the United States should be in this slice of heaven. However, we're not done yet. As explained in my previous video, having your furthest west point be in the Eastern Hemisphere is disingenuous. So, using the 180th meridian, or anti-meridian, as our divider, the true easternmost point of the United States is Simisipochnoi Island, with the furthest west point being Amatignak Island. By going west from our easternmost point, and east from our westernmost point, and finding the average of these longitudes, we wrap our way around the Earth to find the center point is closer to the prime meridian. Now, you may be expecting me to do the same thing with the equator, as we now have land to the north and south of that line. And we could go to the extreme of noting Baker Island and Jarvis Island, or just north and south of the equator respectively, which could lead us to wrap around the north and south poles. However, all that would do is put us near Null Island, an imaginary island marked by a buoy located at 0 degrees latitude and longitude in the Gulf of Guinea, off the coast of Africa. Fortunately, these extra calculations are unnecessary. Rose Atoll is the furthest south point. It isn't like we're trying to call it the northernmost point while it's in the southern hemisphere, like we're doing with Guam by calling it west when it's in the eastern hemisphere.
Everybody's lost but me.
Nevertheless, we do still need to extend the flag further south than we did in the first video. Once again, I will admit that this bounding box is huge, as it once again circles almost the entire globe, minus the single strip of about 1 degree of longitude along the anti-meridian. After running the calculations one more time, our latitude remains the same, but our longitude places us in a desert, the Sahara Desert to be specific, southeast of the town of Matarfa in Algeria. I'll be honest, compared with a tropical paradise, the desert's a bit of a letdown. However, once you get outside of that desolation, there are parts of Algeria that are actually quite beautiful. For viewers of my first video, it may be interesting to know that Algeria was once part of France until it gained independence in 1962. Since France was found to be the center of the United States in my first video, it seems fitting that one of its former colonies should be the center in this video. The desert is spacious, so there's plenty of room to build a monument. Once again, here are some AI-designed examples for Algeria to choose from, or to completely ignore as they design one from scratch. Maybe one day, if this video ever goes viral, Hawaii or Algeria may take an interest in building a monument for one of these centers of the United States. But until then, you can take comfort in knowing you are one of the few that know that the real center of the United States and its territories is near a tropical paradise, or in a desert wasteland.